Hi there, welcome to the video. You remember last week when I said that spring is slowly coming? Spring is slowly creeping in. I know I did say slowly, but didn't expect to be so slow. And white, although it's actually really beautiful. How about we just get into the Q&A? Hi and very warm welcome to my first Q&A. Thanks so much for submitting questions. It's actually a lot of fun reading them, thinking about the answers. So I hope I can cover all the questions in this video. I hope it doesn't get too long. But I would say let's get right into it. I also have my oboe here so I can demonstrate if necessary. I think a few of the questions might need a little cheeky demonstration. But let's actually dive right into the first question. Coming from Jemima Lem. I really hope I pronounce the name correctly. I do apologize if I don't. It's really cool name. Can you talk about new oboes versus second hand and how to break a new oboe in? That's a really good question. Well, let's discuss the pros and cons. New versus used. I guess it really depends how used the oboe is and who used it and for how long and things like that. If the oboe is more than 5 years old, it starts to get generally not so good. Of course, it depends if the person before that was taking care of it. I remember I got my last oboe actually was used for just 1 or 2 years, and actually it was someone who didn't play a lot, someone who was studying and decided to actually change major, so they didn't play a lot, and it was really good. Because I think if you would have a new oboe that's good, you wouldn't want to sell it, so bear that in mind. Most of the times second-hand oboes are probably used professionally for 5 or 6 years or 7, and then the person wants to sell that instrument and get a new one. In this case, I wouldn't really recommend getting it, because that would mean that its best years are already gone. But having said that, you can definitely find something good. I would be always questioning how much this instrument was played, who played on it, what's the story, and of course you have to like it. You have to try it and like it and see how it feels, how it looks, what kind of condition it is, and yeah. And let's talk about new oboes. Of course, new oboes, I would say that's the best if you can get a new one, if you can select a new one. I think having a selection from many different kinds, even from the same brand, but many different ones, because every oboe is very different, is the best choice. And after that, breaking it in, this is, I would say, take more time for that. I prefer, that's the best for me, to take your time with breaking it in, especially if it's winter. In Europe, generally winter is quite dry, and dry weather makes oboes crack easily because of that change of humidity. So in a perfect situation, you would get instruments around the spring, played in the summer slowly, and then start using it more professionally, I would say, in the fall, in the winter. And in the first winter, be very careful with taking care of it. Some tips are humidity. I think is the thing that's very important. Temperature changes and changes in the humidity, because the humidity is the thing that makes the wood change, and this is how most of oboes crack when it's cold and dry, so be careful with that. And yeah, if you have the time, if you have another oboe and you have the time to play the new one in slowly and taking care, you are actually ensuring that it's going to go in a good direction. And also having somebody to service it. Most new oboes need some kind of personalization to you. I find as well, when I get a new one, there are some little things I would like to maybe change a little bit, not something major, but something for me personally. So having somebody near is, I think, also another very good thing to think about when you get a new one. Another thing I like to do in the winter, especially with newer instruments, is to oil them a little bit, because the wood could be, it really depends what maker you're getting, but some of the makers that produce a lot of oboes, they use material that's very good, but it's not actually being aged enough, because of course of the demand of the instruments that I need to produce. So sometimes the instruments or the wood is still kind of settling in. So I think that being careful with it, taking care of it, is very important. And if you find an oboe that's 1 or 2 or 3 years old and that hasn't been used too much, it might be actually a really good deal. Because it will be cheaper, and if it's pretty much like new, I would say go for it. I hope this helps. Let's jump into the next one. Next question is coming from Fagot Ushi. I think that's somebody in Germany, because they wrote in German. Wie lange spielst du deine Rohre eigentlich ein? To translate, this means how long do you play in your new reeds, probably means. Und was hältst du von Ubuntu Core? The second question is very interesting. Let's answer it first. I really don't know what Ubuntu Core is. Sorry. Maybe you can tell me what it is. I have no idea. Ubuntu isn't this like a software or something? So that's what I can say about that. And about the reeds, how long I play them in. Again, it depends, but it would be something between 1 and 3 days. It's actually, yeah. If I need the reed quicker, I would play it in quicker. Ideally, I think 2 or 3 days is enough. Could be also longer if you're not in a rush. That's even better, because playing, what I do is I play in the reed, but I also adjust it a little bit. I think giving it more time will make the reed live a bit longer if you don't finish it too quickly. If you finish it too quickly, which sometimes is necessary, same day kind of thing or 1 day, then you might get it to work very fast, but then I find that it's kind of collapses a little bit earlier. But it depends on the quality of the cane. If the cane is harder, generally it takes longer time to play it in, to finish it. If it's softer, sometimes actually it's pretty quick to make it, to finish it, then it works, but actually then it kind of dies quicker. So that's pretty much it. I assume you are a bassoon player, and with bassoon, I'm not sure if it's similar or not. Probably yes, but you can also let me know. And that's my personal thing. Other oboists have different habits with that, so that's how I like to do it. It works really well. Yeah, I hope it helps. Forgot Ushi. Next question coming from Georgi Tarasov. Hi Georgi, how's it going? I would like to ask how works the orchestra industry. Sorry, didn't read it correctly. I would like to ask you. How works the orchestra industry, like the weekly routine? That's a very good question. It depends on the orchestra and what kind of orchestra it is. Could be chamber orchestra, could be symphony orchestra, it could be also opera orchestra. And I've seen that there are actually a difference between these, but also the difference between orchestras in different countries as well, but I can say from my experience the general or something that I've witnessed, symphonic orchestra that plays concerts every week would have a few days of rehearsals. In places like Germany, you would have more time. You would have rehearsals 3 or 4 days before the concert, or 2 concerts or 3. In the UK, it's a little bit more squeezed in. You would have probably 2 days of rehearsals and more rehearsals. It's just a different kind of rhythm of playing there. But generally in Europe, you would have 3 or 4 days rehearsals in the morning, sometimes in the evening. Some orchestras have like 2 rehearsals blocks, morning, afternoon. This is how it goes. Opera orchestra is very different. Opera orchestra has operas going in the evenings and rehearsals for maybe something different in the morning, and also ballet. Opera orchestras, most of them play also ballet. So you have in the evenings the performances, ballet, opera, different every day possibly. This is what I've seen. Some opera houses repeat the things, maybe they have 1 week the same thing, but yeah, again, it really depends where you are. Opera orchestra is more interesting. You have a variety of things, but also more difficult, because maybe you're rehearsing one thing in the morning, and in the evening you're playing something else. The next day you have something else, and it takes more time to get into the repertoire. Once you know the repertoire, it gets easier. And symphonic orchestra is different, because you have like 1 week concentrated on one repertoire, which I also find really nice, because you can dig deeper into the pieces, and with the opera you just need more time to get into the pieces, and the operas are longer and there's more happening, but it's also really exciting and interesting, and every time you're actually learning something new. So yeah, and chamber orchestras are also really nice. They have a lot of travel generally, so you would be going to different places, ideally, not right now, but and it's also really cool. Also, to mention, opera orchestras tend to not travel so much, so that's something comfortable as well. Symphonic orchestras travel more generally, so something to bear in mind as well. That's kind of a short answer. There is a lot to say here, but I think it gives you a kind of idea of what you are asking. So hope that helps. Alright, jumping into the next question, coming from Han684. Would you say that you have to have a specific personality to be successful in music? Being extroverted rather than introverted? And if so, how would you suggest that people gain confidence in the way that they present themselves on stage? This is really good, and a question that I thought about as well a lot. I would say you don't have to have specific personality. I think I've seen all kinds of personalities being really successful on stage, and I think the first step is understanding your personality and working on the things that you need to work to feel good on stage. Could be very different approach to every different person, but understanding yourself and your personality, I think is very important. I have to say myself that I'm very happy, very lucky that I studied with Nicholas Daniel, who really helped me understand myself better. He knows his students very well. He understands everyone, and there is a very personal approach to every single one of them. So very often I think that the case is that you need to have a very different approach, and it's not one size fits all. So I've seen all kinds of personalities being really successful. For me personally, I can say that it wasn't so easy for me being on stage when I was a child, when I was in school. I was, let's say, a bit more introverted, and having an understanding for that. It wasn't actually something like super extreme or anything, but I was not as open as I'm now. So I wasn't as open as I'm now. So now it's definitely easier. I think things are connected between you being on stage and your personality, and some of the things I had to work on were not connected to actually practicing. I think it's just generally growing as a person, understanding your personality, and gaining confidence is, I think, just understanding that everyone has something to offer, and you're a very special individual who has something to offer. And finding the way, I think, between this and the stage is and how you actually can present yourself on the stage. That's the most important thing. Could be like, I think for introverted persons, could be something like just getting out of your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be playing on stage. Could be something that you maybe are scared of, something that's really not the typical things to do for you, but slowly going out of your comfort zone. Could be even speaking in front of people, or just talking to a stranger. I don't know, something that you wouldn't do normally. Just starting with asking for direction, or something like that. I think developing this kind of skills, that you're more open and that you are getting out of your comfort zone, that could be very helpful, I think, for your personality. And then once you get on stage, you'll be like, oh, I'm feeling more comfortable with that. And for more introverted personalities, I think it could be something different. Then you probably need to work on very different kind of things. And the other thing not to forget is that playing music is something that's required of us as performance. So it is not necessarily something that has to do with us personally. We are on the stage and we have a job to do. And by saying job doesn't mean we're just doing it for the money, but we're required to present the music as best as we can. And we don't have to take it so personally. Imagine like being an actor and playing a role. It's something similar. You have to get into a role, to that specific role, in performing that music. So this kind of, at least for me, takes a little bit of that worry about myself and about my personality, and I'm focusing more on the music. If you think about the light, like that's shining now here on my face, having that actually directed into the music and not on you, because it's not really about you. It's not directly about you. I think that actually takes a lot of burden from you, and it's something that you're just part of, and it's not something that really has to do so much with your personality. I hope this all makes sense. I thought about this a lot. There's actually a lot could be said about this, but just a short answer would be that no, there is no specific personality in my opinion, and I think that everybody can gain confidence. And I think it's playing music is something that in front of people is something that really helps you understand you, and actually helps you develop not only your skills as a musician, but just your whole personality. This is what happened with me when I was studying, and it just changed my life. I hope this makes sense. Would be nice to talk more about this, but this video is gonna get like 5 hours, so you definitely don't want that. Jumping into the next question, coming from, I'm really sorry if I don't pronounce the name correctly. It's actually super interesting name. Kvazagiatari Ostolen. Please tell me where you're from. This is so cool, and thank you so much for the question. It's not exactly a question about playing the oboe, but what should one look for when buying a new one, given how big an investment it can be? I think this actually connects to the question before when I talked about new versus old used oboes. You have to look for the potential in the instrument, I think. It is the best investment, in my opinion, to get a new one. Something that you know you're gonna play it in the way you like. You're going to make it your own, because the oboe does change, I find, by the way you play and the way you take care of it. And saying again, I think having a choice between multiple instruments is very good. Also multiple makers would be really good, just to find the one that suits you the most, the one that you really like, the one that actually allows you to create your own sound, and you don't have to actually match or fit to that instrument. It's some instrument that actually fits you. I think that's the most important thing. I don't like to serve brands, so I like to actually use the instrument that allows me to create music the best. That's what I would say. I think it's definitely worth the investment. If it's too much, the option is, again, if you can find a used oboe that's 2 or 3 years old, but again, be very careful with that, because think about it like this: if you have a very good instrument that you bought a few years ago, you wouldn't want to sell it. So if you find something that's 2 years or 3 years old, just make sure you ask why the person is selling this instrument, or why what was sold, because maybe something is not so good with this instrument. So yeah, I think the previous actually answer might be very useful for you. Hope this helps. Well, let's move on to the next one, coming from Eve Osborne. How's it going, Eve? Great videos, thank you. Been wondering a lot about this. How do you develop, me too by the way, how do you develop your own sound and style on the oboe? All oboe players sound unique, of course, because of mouth shape, reeds, instrument, etc. But how do you play with your own nuanced kind of playing? Do you think it is just something natural that we ourselves can't tell, or something to develop intentionally? Very good question. I think it is something complex between what we've been given, what we're working with. I think understanding our own voice and qualities is important, but also developing that, I think, is very important. Finding the setup, of course, reeds, instrument that suit us the best is crucial. But I think where it actually all start, I'm saying actually way too many times. I have to put a jar, and every time I say the word actually, I put a door in it. How about that? Okay, let's get serious. I would say the first thing to do is to imagine how you want to sound. This is very important, I think, because having the imagination, there are no limits there. If we limit ourselves with technical terms and things like this reed sounds like this, or the oboe, the instrument sounds like this, we're just going to limit ourselves. And having the imagination and going and working towards that is the key. And understanding your uniqueness, that's the beauty of it, that everybody is very unique and everybody has a very unique sound. It's almost like a voice. You have been given a voice and you can develop it. Think of it a little bit like this. And with the oboe, we have some technical things we need to sort out. Finding the most natural setup, instrument, reeds, I think is very important. And developing yourself, trying to use what you've been given is very important to understand, and to not compare with others. Think about what you personally have and what you can develop and make it great. That's the thing, and that's the beauty of it. And I really enjoy hearing all the different kinds of players, musicians, doesn't matter what instrument, and how they sound, how interesting it is. And yeah, I think this is where you can start with, really having an idea where you want to be or how you would like to sound, and with time I guarantee you will achieve it. This is very important, to set it, to have that imagination of how you would like to sound, and I think it will happen. Let me know how it goes. Yeah. Next question, actually there are two, coming from Chloe Issa, do you think I will have time to play oboe in college with the orchestra and take private lessons and make reads and be a full-time nursing student? Wow, that's a difficult question for me to answer. I will try to speculate, of course, a little bit because I have no idea, but I guess nursing school is not something that is easy. It's probably demanding. But let me put it this way, if you want to achieve something, if you want to do something in life, generally, I think you will be able to do it if you want, if you really want it. So of course I'm gonna say yes. I think you will have time if you want to have time, if you make the time. I think with the oboe and with anything, but in my experience, it's important to be very concentrated and efficient with your time. And that's even if you have one hour a day. If you practice really well, that will be really good. If you have 2 hours, that will be amazing. You can become really good. Of course, I don't know how much time you spend also on reeds, because with the reeds sometimes it does take more time, but I have to say also myself, I don't really spend too much time, but I've come to this point where now I know a lot more than before. I wish I knew many of these things I know now, so now I really don't have to spend so much time on reeds. And if you get to that point where you're efficient, you know how to practice, you know how to make your reeds quickly, and you're concentrated in like 1 hour, you can really practice a lot. I think it's really time management, and I hope you can do it. But the main question is if you want to do it, I think you definitely can. And your next question is, how can I increase my endurance to be able to play long pieces and have longer practice sessions? Again, it depends on the quality of your practice and also the time, but it's not only the time. It's like any sport that you would do. Not that I'm comparing it too much with oboe playing, but there are, like you say, you would like to have more endurance. It's the same way like we would be practicing endurance, running or doing any sport. We just do it more and more until we become stronger. And with practicing, I would say if you practice the same way every day, you're just gonna stay at the same level. Yes, you will have the same kind of shape. If you want to increase, you have to do a little bit more every day. Maybe not every day, but it sometimes goes like this: goes up, goes a little bit down, then it goes up, goes a little bit down, goes up. If you are very much persistent and if you're working systematically, it will come naturally. You have to have some kind of routine and system where you can really say, okay, today I practice that much, tomorrow I practice that much, maybe you need a little bit of rest, the next day like that, but you're doing some kind of, you're comparing and you're doing a little bit of progress every time, every day, and be patient with that. But it definitely becomes easier and easier. I find myself when I'm getting back into shape, I'm not really thinking about it too much, but I just go by feeling. If I haven't played for a week after holidays, the first days are really tough, especially the leaps and just overall condition. I cannot play for too long, but then I know in 1 week it will be fine. So I start the first day, I do as much as I can, and then the next day, and in 1 or 2 weeks it's getting back. So I'm adding new pieces, I'm doing probably a little bit longer scales and a few etudes. And if you're playing, for example, let's say you're learning a 1 page to 2 pages of etude, you might not be able to play it the first time, but then the next day will be a little bit more, and the next day a little bit more, until in 1 or 2 weeks you'll be able to play the whole piece. And this is going to show you really where your condition is. And yeah, I would say that it's important to be smart, to be systematic about it, and to try to have some kind of routine where you can see where you're going with that. I hope this makes sense. There's actually a lot could be said, and I don't know your personal situation, but these are just general things I can tell you. Yeah, if you're more interested, we can have a session together, we can talk about it, we can play a little bit, just let me know. Next question, clarinet chamber. How's it going? How's the clarinet going? Could you talk about your orchestra career? Okay, I guess I can. And how does a typical week at the opera looks like? These are actually several questions, we will discuss them all. Would you choose this job again, or would you go for something completely different? Let's actually go one by one. My orchestra career, let's do it very quick one. I started playing in professional orchestras quite early, when I was like 17, 18. I'm very happy for this opportunity where I grew up in Bulgaria. I studied, and there was some demand for oboists, and I'm very lucky that the orchestras and the colleagues were actually giving me the chance to sit and play and learn. So I played with several orchestras, the radio, the Philharmonic, the chamber orchestra in Sofia. That's all in Sofia, by the way. Yeah, it was, and just a few other orchestras that they were kind of more youth kind of orchestra, but also professional. So actually getting the experience quite early is very important. After that, I went to study in Paris. Didn't really play in orchestras there because I really want to work on myself. I came back to Bulgaria. I played a season with the radio orchestra, and then after that I went to Germany to continue my studies. And in Germany I started playing slowly in some professional orchestras, and at some point I ended up in Stuttgart, which is a fantastic orchestra. I learned so much, and this orchestra opened the doors for many other invitations in Germany. And I did some auditions in the UK, did some trials in Glasgow and Cardiff, played in London as well. After that, started playing in the Netherlands and went a few times to Switzerland and Norway. It's actually a lot. I don't really like to talk about it too much. It sounds a little bit like I'm bragging or anything, but everyone has their unique way, and it's so interesting how most of my very important, let's say, opportunities came just by some kind of, it wasn't something that I was really pushing towards, I was just doing my thing. I was really trying to improve, to play well, to present myself very well. And I was I guess really lucky to have met some colleagues and people that heard me in other concerts and gave me the chance. And I think that's what I always wanted, is to have the chance to go and play. And I think being flexible and being able to adapt into different situations is actually one of the most important qualities. Also different cultures when you're in different places, but it's also the great thing that's connected to your next question: would you choose this job? I just really love this job because it took me to so many places around the world, and it's interesting to experience different cultures and how the culture is influencing the music making. Although I have to say that going from orchestra to orchestra, there are just so many similarities, so you always feel at home, even if it's different country with different language. When you make music together, it's the same language, and it's amazing. As for the second part of the question, would you do something completely different? It's of course something that I think most people speculate a little bit. What if that? What if I did that? I wouldn't say no. I'm very happy, and I don't want to speculate because I do believe that things happen the way they should. So speculating about doing something else, of course I could have done something else. I think what you do, it doesn't really define your life, and I want to just be happy. So I could do something else. I'm now also doing other things that interest me. I have a lot of hobbies and interests. So it's not like this is like the most important thing to play the oboe or play music. I love it. It's part of my life, and yeah. But it's I think having hobbies, having other interests, and trying other things is very good. If you have this kind of doubts, if this was the right thing to do, I think it's always good to just meet other people that do other things, maybe try to do something else, and it really opens up the perspectives, because I find very often we think or imagine that, oh, that other thing is amazing, I probably should have done that or the other, and then when you actually do it, you find that it's not so easy or not the way you imagine it to be. So it is very interesting. For me, life is just very interesting, and all the other things that you can do. So try that, meet people, just go out of your occupation kind of thing, your work, and you might learn a lot of things. And yeah, life is interesting. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I would do something different. Do you have students? Do you only play in orchestra full time? Yes, I do have students. I actually really like to teach. Right now, it's a lot of it is happening online, which is great, and I really enjoy it. I was also teaching in a music school in Germany, and sometimes helped my class where I studied. And just working with students that are going to be becoming professionals. This is a lot of fun, and yeah, I really love. I would probably like to teach more in the future, gathering more experience. I think it's great. It's a lot of fun, because the students really, maybe they don't realize it, but many times they actually give me, or I learn a lot more than they would learn from me. I think this exchange of energy, I think it's very good, of motivation, of ideas, is really good. And also to practice to explain things that you've learned. I think that's it's very important. I don't want to talk too much about this, but if you're interested, I can tell you more. And pros and cons of a career in classical music in Germany. Yeah, pros and cons. I don't see any cons generally. I think if you like doing what you're doing, it's great. I don't see any cons. Not in Germany, not anywhere else actually where I've been. Yeah, I hope this helps, my friend. Next question, very interesting question. The Arius 414 is asking, can you play oboe with dentures? It's actually, I'm not sure, to be honest, but I would try. I just would try. There might be some things to adjust. If you played before and then after that you have dentures, just try how it feels. Maybe you need to, maybe you need to adjust some things, but I would give it a try. I'm not gonna say it's not possible. I'm the person who believes that everything is possible. Next question, coming from Tess Congreve. Hi Tess, how's it going? Do you have any tips for getting rid of tension in your body? Or tell me about it. I struggle with tension in my shoulders and hands, especially when I play the oboe for a long time. Thank you. And there is a little cheeky addition from Mary Norby. And neck too. Yeah, well, these parts are all connected from the body. Tips. Yeah, I've been working a lot on these things. Of course, I would like to make the oboe as easy as possible to play. And it's partly its experience and also just understanding and listening to your body. And I think the very important thing is how your body works with the setup that you have, the reed and the instrument. It needs to really fit, and I don't agree with that we have to be able to play on any reed or any instrument. I don't think that's actually really good, and this is where maybe tension is coming. If something is not okay with your setup, if your reeds are not good for you personally, it's not going to be so easy, and then more tension will come. That's my experience. You have to find a place where really the setup is letting you make it as natural as possible to play the oboe. The oboe is already not so easy, and I don't like to actually really think about that anymore, because now it's become a lot easier by knowing what you're doing. But then this is the important point to understand, because it does create quite some resistance, and the way we blow the air is under pressure, so the speed needs to be a lot, but the opening is actually very little, and this is what creates that tension that might go into the body. And I think we have to find a way to actually, by blowing the air, to get all that tension out. So it's actually in the sound, it's going out of the body, it's not staying in the body. I think understanding that is very important, and also working on finding the most comfortable, the most correct, how when you're doing any kind of exercise, there are different ways, there are correct ways to do it, so you're actually working on the muscles, and there are ways that you actually could injure yourself. It's something similar. So actually having a good teacher is important to work with you to achieve that. It's not something that you can just change like that. But I would say listen to your body and try to understand why you have this tension and what creates it. It's becoming aware first. For me, when I feel that something is not comfortable, I will change something about it. If you're getting too tired, if you're starting to get tension, then take a break. Maybe you have to change something in your practice routine. Maybe you're practicing too much, or maybe you are in a way fighting with your instrument. Maybe not fighting, but there is something that you're trying to push. If you say that you have too much tension. The other thing I would say is, I think for me the most tension I would get is if it's like long hours in the orchestra, because sitting, I think playing sitting on a chair is not very good for the body. This is where I would get more tension. And the other thing is that the rhythm in the orchestra is something that you don't really control. Every piece is different, so you don't have actually the chance to prepare for it. If I'm practicing at home, I'm always practicing standing up. I'm using my whole body. I don't have any tension, and I'm very, very careful with my reeds. For example, I always want the reed to be in a specific way, and until it is, I'm not actually really using it. If it's not, and it's never going to be, like you can tell, I just don't use it. So that's important thing, to not compromise with some bad setup, or if your oboe is too heavy, blowing too heavy, I wouldn't compromise. Don't say, okay, then it's my problem, I have to push it through. There is a place where these two meet, your technique and your setup, the reeds, and by working more and more and more, it becomes a very good relationship, a very good balance between the two. I think somewhere this meets where you are more in shape, or where you're using the right muscles, where these muscles are actually more developed, also the lips are stronger, and this is where this meets your setup, that you're adjusting to yourself and to the way you want to play. I think sports activities are very good to do, to keep your body in shape, to just be stronger, but also having time to relax. Some kind of relaxation exercises, breathing exercises are really good. Stretching, I think, is important, and keeping things in balance. I hope that you'll be able to get more in rhythm with this. Sometimes there are tough moments, like I said, in orchestra. If you have 2 sessions every day, at some point you start to get tired. It's normal, but there is a kind of a healthy, normal tiredness, and there is one that's actually not very good. Yeah, for me it has been a process, because it wasn't always like this, that it was actually easy to play the oboe. Not that now it's easy, but now I really understand, and I can feel if somewhere there is some kind of tension creeping in, I try to eliminate it, and just taking time, being relaxed, not pushing. And but I think this kind of question really can go really deep, and it's very individual. Could be different things, and this is all I can say for now. But if you want some more specific help in your case, in your situation, then don't be afraid to contact me. Maybe we can meet online, and we can discuss it further. Hope this helps. Next question coming from Lizzie Lombardo. It's a little bit of a longer question. Let's read it. Let's discuss it. Could you do a reed making series? Just the basics of reed making. Yeah, I really should do, because it is. I've done actually one about gouging cane, which is very important. Check it out. I will link it in the description, and it will come on the screen. Probably starting with already gouged and shaped cane, just so the beginners have an idea of how they all start. Yes, that's a great idea. But I also should say that gouging is such a crucial thing. And if you're starting with gouged cane, it needs to be really good, and it need to be gouged very well. And the thing, you can actually check out the video and see why. But the thickness in the middle is not the only thing that's important. The way the sides relate to the center. This is actually everything. After that, the reed will be how open it will be, how it's going to vibrate, the way the sound is going to be balanced. So if you're starting with gouged cane and shaped cane, this is very important, that it's not from different kinds, and that's actually really good. Maybe your teacher or somebody that you know makes really good reeds for you, so you're not confused. If you have really good technique on scraping, but the gouge is not so good, nothing is gonna work, believe me. So there's something just to bear in mind there. It's very important. Things how to tie the reed, scraping techniques, clipping the tip and making sure the reed is responding properly when you test it, and how to make the little fixes when it doesn't. Well, this whole thing actually needs like a whole week of classes. This is something I think you should learn with your teacher next to your oboe lessons. This is actually how I learned every week, and he was giving me homework to tie on a few reeds, to scrape them. First was only tying on, and then to scrape them. So it's not something that I can really do in a video. You know, this is it's just impossible. But I can do a few that can help. But my advice is to do it properly. It's like, can you do a video about how to play the oboe? You know, it doesn't work like this. I hope you understand. It needs to be done systematically, and needs to be done also properly. You need to practice that almost every day, I would say, just tying on a few reeds. Once you get this one really good, when you tie on very well, you can continue with other things. Also scraping, finishing reeds, all this is a lot of actually material, a lot of things that can be said about that. I will try to do some videos in the future explaining different aspects of that. Maybe at some point it will be a complete guide, but this is really a lot of work to do. I'm definitely planning on doing it, but like I said, I think it is good to have that possibly with somebody that's really good as well. But I will show you my way, and this hopefully will help. I was making my own under careful guidance for a while, but I never got to the point where I felt I could confidently do it on my own. Okay, yeah. And then I stopped for a while, and it was a long enough break to forget virtually everything I used to know. This is what I was talking. I understand very well what I was talking about. If you let's imagine you play the oboe and then you stop for a while, then you forget things. You need to practice that, and you need to get into the rhythm again. And I'm sure some memories will come, but if you don't do it for a while, it's not so easy anymore. You need to practice it, and yeah, I think it's something you need to do systematically. But again, the starting point is actually getting the cane and gouging it, and after that doing the rest. Because as I said, you can scrape really well, but if the cane is not properly gouged, it's not going to work. If the cane is very well gouged, you can make mistakes in the scrape, but it's still going to work. Because it's interesting. I didn't realize that also for a long time, but scraping is something that you do just at the end, and the reed is already has the qualities. If it's prepared correctly, if every step is done correctly, it's already going to be really good. I didn't think that years ago. I thought that it's all about the scraping, but no, I had to learn the hard way. Yeah, I hope that you can get back to it. I hope you can get back to it, making reeds, because it's good to get into the rhythm again and find very good cane. This helped me a lot. My teacher was giving me really good cane, and he said, yeah, even if you make a little mistake, it will work. But if the cane is bad and badly gouged and shaped, even if you're the master, the best, it's still not going to work. So it's important to start with a cane that's not very good. That's very good, sorry. It's important to start with a cane that's very, very good and very well prepared, and not a cane that's for practicing. If you want to practice tying on, yeah, you can practice on a bad cane. But if you really want to finish a reed and to believe that you can, because this is so important with students that start to make reeds, to actually convince them that it's not so difficult to make reeds. And the way you can really do that is by giving them really good cane, and not the worst cane, the bad. Like some people get, oh, it's just for students, I just give it for students. My bad cane is going for students. It's exactly the opposite. I know a good cane is not easy to find, but just give them a little bit. Once you actually can tie on and shape and everything, if you want to scrape some reeds and actually for them to work, you have to use good cane. Otherwise, if you want to only practice, yeah, use bad one, definitely. There is place for it, but yeah, I hope this makes sense. I hope you understand what I mean. This is how I learned, and I'm super grateful to my teacher who taught me how to do that, because it was systematic. It was, with a lot of guidance and explanation to how to finish, what mistakes I did, and something that also after that takes years to understand how to make personally for yourself. And also it's always kind of evolving and changing a little bit. I'm always looking for something that could be better, although in the last years I've been really happy with my setup, so I haven't been really changing too much. But yeah, when I was a student I was trying a lot, and I think that's the time for it. But I wish you good luck with that, and if you have further questions, just let me know. Next question is about breathing, coming from Grotrian Zeiler. Maybe something German there? Maybe? I don't know. I hope I said it correctly. I wonder if you can talk a little about breathing. I'm not ready to try circular breathing and have trouble getting through long passages of Baroque music with lots of 8 notes and 16 notes with no rests. What do you tell your students? Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the question. It's actually a bigger question than you might think. Breathing is the most important thing on the oboe, and how you use your air is the most important thing. Circular breathing is not really something that I would recommend you to practice. Don't do it until you have really good breathing. And to be honest, most of the time in the Baroque music I don't really use it. So you don't have to worry about circular breathing. Try more with the normal breathing, just to develop it. And Baroque music is probably one of the toughest for that, because it's tiring. It's definitely very tiring. And I think it's important to just again build up this stamina and practice. Sometimes we don't have so much time to breathe. Yeah, sometimes you only have to breathe out, sometimes you breathe in. This is something that you can develop with time. But yeah, like I said before, another question, build it up slowly. Also have a very comfortable setup. I think this is very important, especially for Baroque music. Light and flexible reed. It's very good. What would I tell my students? It's just to systematically practice. Like, don't push it. I think quality is better. If you can play one passage with good quality without actually getting red or tired, it's better than getting through the whole movement but like being out of breath. I think the balance, finding the balance somewhere is important. Having a phrase one day and the next day, try to actually do, okay, just do a little bit more and a little bit more, and maybe it's going to be not so easy, but actually pushing yourself just a little bit, I think it's okay, so you make some kind of progress. And I think it's important to have a really good plan when you are when you are breathing. In some places, like I said, you can breathe only out, because Baroque music, yeah, I could say it doesn't have too many breaks. Having a comfortable setup and just being patient. I think automatically, if you're practicing well, if you're consistent, it will get better. Like if you say to me, I want to run a marathon, but I've never really been outside running, and then you say, well, marathon is gonna kill me. Probably yes, but you have to build it up slowly. You will go for 5 minutes of run first day, the second day will be 10, and the next day will be 15. Maybe you'll need a day rest. It's something similar with that. So don't push it yourself, but take it step by step. Divide it if you will. Just one movement of the piece, or just a half of the movement, and then you try to increase and increase. It's something general, I'm telling you. I really, really hope this helps, because it might be your case, your situation is a little bit different, and it might need some special, not special, but individual attention. And maybe we can work on something if you want. That might be more helpful to you personally. But this is what I would say. I hope it helps. I'm all over the place, but hopefully you can get something out of it. Next question, coming from Ivan Misel. Sorry. Hi, how's it going? Where are you from? What suggestions would you have to help develop fluency in the high register? Very good question. Like for any other register, you just need to really get familiar and comfortable with it. Of course, there's some exercise that you can do. I think that what's specific about the high register is that it requires more amount of concentrated speed of air, and this kind of creates the feeling that it's heavy, which I don't think is the right approach, because most of the time I see the mistakes people doing is like trying to push it, and the whole body kind of starts to try and help by pushing with the hands, squeezing too hard the oboe, which definitely doesn't help. You have to concentrate on the support, the right place for it, and other than that you don't do anything else. I think it's actually quite important to be very relaxed, so the sound can resonate. The high register is using just a very thin part of the instrument that, because of the oboe's bore, it's conical, so here it's very thin, and you need to compensate for that by opening the resonance in the head, here in the mouth, so it actually doesn't sound too thin. Let me try and demonstrate. I mean, there are some exercises. I would advise you to start with something slow, so you can get more familiar with the high register. Now let's try. How I like to think about oboe playing is that everything is just even. We try to make it even. I'm not thinking about, oh, this is the high register or this is the low register. Although, yeah, there are specific things about these, but I think not thinking about this too much actually helps better. Or that's the end point, of course. Yeah, try to just connect it. When you play scales, I think scales are very helpful. Try to be very relaxed and do exercises like I learned from Goritsky, with really good exercises for just trying to concentrate on the air, and at the same time having really relaxed hands when you change the notes. I think it's very important to be very smooth with it. And don't overdo it in the beginning, because it can get a little bit tiring. But what I really do is I concentrate the support, because it does require some more support. But it's kind of similar to singing, where you don't achieve these high notes by pushing, but actually by really thinking more going down, connecting better with the earth, and using that energy. That energy bounces down and it goes up and helps you really with these high notes. That's what I would say about this. Just get more familiar with these notes, play them more. Make sure you have the right fingerings. I think it's important, and yeah, there's nothing really too specific, in my opinion, making a big deal out of the high register. I don't think it's a really big deal. So I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. It's gonna be okay. Next question coming from Barbara Sergetto. Hi Barbara, how's it going? Thanks for the question. We actually talked about this because we're having lessons with her. Could you talk to us about how to make the low notes speak? Low B flat, C without gurgling. Yeah, actually I've made a video about starting notes softly. This is, I'm gonna link it. And this is very helpful, I think. Specifically to these very low notes, I would say if it's gurgling, I think that in a way that it's kind of octavating, if that's not a word, okay, but you know what I mean, when it kind of starts in octave high. I don't know if I can do it, but something like, I can't even do it, sorry, but I think this means that you're not directing the air very well, or maybe the reed is closed. I would have that problem if my reed is too close. You have to be able, with the low register, this is completely the opposite with the high, to get the air from the beginning to the very low part. So thinking of very long, sending the air in the longer, more distant place, it needs to be enough. And the other is to think about more as warm air. You know, when you're cold, like now it's cold, when you're outside and you're warming up your hands, the same feeling. And the other is, of course, it goes without saying, the reed should be fine and the oboe should be adjusted well, otherwise it's never going to work, or it's going to be very difficult. But let me just try to demonstrate. And if you watch that video I just mentioned, you will see these very practical exercises, how to repeat that multiple times, so you get very secure, very sure about how to start these notes. That's pretty much where I'm going to leave you with this question, I think. But yeah, the video has actually a little bit more information about it. I hope this is helpful. Moving on to the next question coming from Mary Norby. What fingering do you use to go from C to C sharp in the lowest octave? Do you use the banana shaped key at all? Okay, very good. I honestly cannot recall ever using the banana key. For the ones of you who don't know which key this is, it's let me try and focus. It's this one here. It's shaped like a banana. You only need to use it. Let me show you. I never use it because it's actually very uncomfortable. You would only use it for this trio, and I've never actually played a piece that requires that. Let me see if I can show you. Actually, it is very uncomfortable to cover the D and this key, but basically we'll do that to have C to C sharp trio. Come on, yeah. Anyway, so many oboes actually remove this. Some oboes don't even have it. It's kind of a decoration almost, but yeah, you would use that for the trio, definitely. I don't use it ever. I'm perfectly fine with sliding. Let me show you. So that's good enough for me. And banana key, you have to kind of stretch the finger, and it's I don't know why is this still a thing, but I hope that helps. Moving on to the next question coming from June Campbell. That's an amazing name. First of all, I was born in June. It's my favorite month or is it though? Yeah, one of them. Because this is where the summer starts and it's very nice and sunny normally. My questions are, this is probably my favorite question and the one that I can speak the most about it. Just kidding. What is your favorite whiskey and why? Don't even start me there. By the way, yeah, my birthday is in June. Address, I can give you my address and you can send me whiskey. Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. Let's discuss it. You know what? I'm gonna address actually the second part first, and then we'll relax and talk about the whiskey. Second part of the question is, when changing between notes in the third octave, dropping to the low notes in the first octave, do you have any tips for that? I speed the low C a lot and it bugs me. Cheers. Cheers, mate. Yeah, that's a difficulty. Again, with having that bore that's conical, and going up is easier, but going down it's not so easy, because the air has to be directed from here to going down, and this is not so easy. I think that you have to practice that. Like, what a surprise. It needs to be practiced, needs to be worked, but your setup should also allow it. What do I mean by that? I mean that you have to have oboe, of course, that's nice and even, the registers, and reed that's flexible, so it can change from that different way of blowing for the high register to the low. And also knowing your reed very well. You have to practice these things. I like to practice intervals and going from smaller to bigger. I can show you this exercise, and it's important to, if you want to do that, try first with let's take the C, the low C, like you said, and try. You see, this last one is actually quite difficult. This exercise is very good because I think the position, the way we play the low register is the one that we're kind of looking for, the song sound quality that we're looking for, this open. And if we play the high register in a very like way, this change is not going to work. So try to keep this position exactly the same, and then changing just using the air, and take your time, this transition. First going up, it's slightly low, but I'm not changing, I'm just really using the air. Maybe it needs a little bit more, but I don't want to change or squeeze. If the transition going down is too difficult, maybe it's squeezing here too much. And about the position of the reed, maybe, I'm not sure if I'm changing that much, maybe just slightly, but going down, try to repeat that same way, and by remembering where the actually low note is. Something like that, but try with all the notes. I find actually other things like this even more difficult, just because the transition in between is not easy. But practice that, take more time, do it even slower than I showed you, and take your time really to change that. I think that should work. And if it's not working, maybe try to understand if maybe something in the setup is not quite okay. But I think the reed, if the reed is stable and flexible at the same time, it should allow you. If it's too close or too light, I think that's not gonna be so easy. But yeah, I hope this helps. Let's talk about the whiskey. My favorite whiskey is Balvenie. I discovered it in Scotland, the double wood or triple cask is also amazing, you know, 12 years old or 17, 25, the older the better. This one is so nicely balanced. It's probably my favorite, but I like many kinds. I tried quite a few in Scotland, so Scottish whiskey. I love it, and always brings me back there when I try that, because I tried it there. Have you had this moment where you tried something somewhere and then the next time you try it, it just brings you back to that place? And that's amazing, and I love this whiskey. So I will give you my address later, and yeah, you can send me one. Thank you very much. Joking, by the way. All right, moving on. We have a few questions on Facebook. I'm just going to read them. The first one is from Ivan Danko. Servus Ivan. Was ich dich schon immer fragen wollte, wie dick hobelst du denn aus? I'm going to translate. He always wanted to ask me how thick I gouge my can, although I think he knows that, but let's answer it because somebody else might want to know. I gouge around 56, 57. In the last months I experimented with a little bit thicker, like 57, maybe it's just a little bit plus. And by just scraping a little bit lower of the scrape, so it's around 10.5, 11 probably, a little bit longer. This way my reeds are more solid. But this is just something I'm trying right now. But when I try things, I don't like to go too far extreme. I like to keep it around that 56, 57. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go to the next one. Margaret Friedrich. How do you teach double tonguing? I have made a video in the summer, I think it was, or in the fall about it. So I'm just going to link it in the description, put it in the box. You can check it out. If you have additional questions, I can try and answer them. And my good friend, Martin Roberts, fantastic cellist from New Zealand, is asking, how do you keep yourself motivated to practice even with no gigs on the horizon? And what do you practice when you don't have a specific end goal? All right, that's a tough one. It's probably the toughest one so far, because it is something that has, of course, for us musicians, all recently happened last year with the situation around the world. It's not, of course, it's totally different. So I try to adapt, and I think that there's still a lot to be done. I remember when I was super busy, like the year before that, even the months before that, thinking about what if I had more free time. I wish I had more free time so I can do more things. I also started this channel at that time because I finally had more time. And I guess if you don't feel motivated or if you don't feel like practicing, just honestly don't. Like, do something else that makes you happy, and I'm sure you will come back to playing or to practicing more. I personally also don't practice too much, but I do like to keep myself busy for the lessons that I have for the students. I like to be in it, so to say. And actually it's also nice to not be always traveling and under pressure to prepare so many things. I kind of enjoy, in a way, this time. I also really like sharing things like this channel with other people, so hopefully this motivates other people with the things that I do. Same goes for me. I watch some amazing things that other musicians have done around the world, so this also motivates me. And yeah, I just really think as it is a time that's kind of given to us to use the way we like. And honestly, if you don't have to feel guilty if you don't feel motivated, that's okay. And I think that just do whatever you like, and life is more than practicing and things like that. So I hope this helps, and we can discuss further about that. So I think I'm gonna leave you with that. This video is like insanely long. Sorry if I'm talking too much. I hope you learned something. I really appreciate your questions again, and let me know if you would like to see another video like this. I really hope I didn't miss any questions, but if I did, don't worry, I will answer them. I'm pretty sure I will do another one of these if you guys are interested. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really hope you learned something. I appreciate it again, and see you very soon. Let's go.